A3. Treasurer's report. Hi again.
I'll make that motion again.
Certainly.
The council received the August 2016 Treasurer's Report as presented for information.
Questions for the treasurer? Councillor Danaka.
Where is it? The Sesquicentennial Grant. Did that get through, done, or where are we on that?
I got enough information to put through the first draft to the person that is looking after the grants. He wanted a lot more detail. They needed to have breakdown of the exact costs and this and that and everything else. I wasn't aware of exactly what needed to be done about the project, what materials, etc. So it was given back to the person that I was speaking with, and they're supposed to be bringing it back to the committee, and we're not sure yet if they're going to be handed what I've got done so far and if they're going to continue with it, but at least they got the first draft in. So.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just one more response to Councillor Danaka. An email was sent out today letting the entire committee know that more information is needed. And so we will probably be addressing that at our meeting on the 22nd, is it? No, 22nd of September. And we will try to get the information back ASAP. And before that, the people who came up with the original project, we will be approaching them to make sure they have the numbers hopefully ready for that meeting so we can get it there and be accountable to each member of this council.
Councillor Danaka.
Jeez, I'm having lip problems today. So have we met the deadline, or are we past the deadline, or will we meet the deadline?
I don't know. He wanted more information, and he didn't say one way or another. I have a feeling that he might have put our space in, but he needs to have that information. Of course, the sooner the better. But we did get our foot in the door at least.
In further conversation with the treasurer about that grant, it sounded like it was a changing deadline as applications went in. So there was no definite, it has to be in by this date. It was just she really wanted it in as soon as possible to make sure we'd be considered. So probably she's done enough to be considered.
Verbally, the grant coordinator verbally had told me by August 30th or 31st, because I believe he was going on vacation for a couple of weeks, so he wanted it in by then. So that was the date he gave me verbally. And yes, you're correct. All the criteria has been changing, not just the date, but all the criteria has been changing because they were so inundated and they weren't prepared. And so they had it open, and then they closed it to 50,000 maximum. Then they had, it has to be this, it has to be that, and they keep closing the noose. So the sooner we get the stuff in, the more chance we have of getting it.
Councillor Danaka.
Number 8, regarding the library, that were to be attached to the library's financial statements were never completed or filed with municipal affairs. Would that or has that, or does that cause any strife for the town or the library?
I'm not sure. We used to have, we got the financial statements from the library when I was here before, and there was a page that was attached that was left blank and had to be filled in by the town because only the town had that information. Then it was given back to the library and they mailed the whole thing out. When I was doing the filing of the files, I noticed, well, where's our report? And I started researching, and I phoned the Edmonton Municipal Affairs to find out it had not been submitted for 2 years. It had not been done. And so I don't know, I think that has something to do with the grant that the library gets for $8,000 or $10,000, and they may not have gotten it the last 2 years because it wasn't complete. I don't know for sure. I'd have to ask Municipal Affairs for the details. I just know that we have to do it, and we did. And if it's not done, I think it affects their funding, not ours.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
In regards to the banking information, if you notice all the different accounts, like I said, I stressed that the main banking account That has been done every month for the bank reconciliation, and I've got a couple more of the accounts straightened out totally, and there's still a few more to go that are quite bad. All the money from all the accounts was taken out and all dumped into one general account called reserves, accumulated reserves. And what happens is that I think the previous treasurer thought that it would make a difference to the interest that was earned. But if they had looked at our contract with the Royal Bank, which we've had for many years, they don't look at each bank account separately. They take the aggregate of all our accounts and base their interest on that amount, and they have for many, many years. It's to our benefit. So it doesn't matter if we have 3 accounts, 20 accounts, they just go by the total dollar amount of all the accounts. To keep things more organized and separate, it's easier to have separate accounts. One for deferred revenues for all the grants, one for, of course, land sales, one for the bursary, one for, and so now I'm in the process of separating it out again the way it was.
Do you have anything else, Terry, or?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh, you have a question?
Question on, what were you gonna ask the treasurer about the CARES, the Economic Development Grant?
Yeah, actually, that's,
That was the treasurer, wasn't it?
yes, that, we got that email that there was the money available through the, that new grant that's come out from the government for economic development and those sorts of things, and called CARES. And just wondering, they're starting to accept applications on October 1st. So I'd like to see that if we have something, we get it in for October 1st, and if we wait too long, we might not, there might be some of that money gone and we won't get it. So I'd like to be first at the trough, so to speak.
That one I wanted to make sure to bring up a few of those things with the strategic planning. Once I know the direction council wants, the projects that they want, it's easier to apply for grants, and I figured that'd be the best way of doing it. So it'll be brought up at your strategic planning. So if you have any ideas, please keep them in mind, write them down.
Yes. We talked a little bit about the business incubator already. That might be one that goes in, but if there was anything else that comes out in that grant, it'd be, like you say, good to get those ideas out there and put them in.
Will we make the funding deadline for October 1st?
If it's brought up at the strategic planning on the 24th, I should have a few days there to really crunch stuff and get it out there and send it in before October 1st.
So Brian, you'll put that
As long as you guys don't give me anything else to do during that week.
Okay. So yeah, that could be a separate agenda item to make sure we deal with it. Yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor of accepting the report? Carried. Finance, football donation. Councillor Gilroy.
Before we go on to this one, I have to declare a conflict of interest. I'm one of the coaches on the football team, so I think I'm supposed to leave you, or just sit here quietly, whichever you guys want.
If it's conflict, you happy to. I'll take the picture with me.
Okay.
It's football.
It's not football. Somebody like to make a motion? Mayor Cox.
I move that council approve the High Prairie Area Football Society. We request for funding in the amount of $3,000 for the purchasing of football equipment.
Anybody have comments, or Mayor Cox?
I have received a printout from the treasurer regarding the grant status as to how much is left in our grant account. And I also have an amount that is left in the FCS account. And then you all received that email. So there is money left over in both of those accounts, and it appears we have no other donation requests at this time. So this does not clear out either one of those accounts, but it does give support to the Football Society, who apparently is quite active in the town. And I think that we should be supporting them, because this is certainly something that is well worthwhile for our community. And if anybody wants to amend the motion and make it higher, I would be interested in accepting a friendly amendment.
Councillor Danaka.
Does anybody know if they're, are they fundraising, or have they approached other businesses, organizations, school boards, Métis settlements, etc.?
Mayor Cox.
On the application, if you look on page 6, number 3, there are other organizations that they have collaborated with. The Promo Store Fountain Tire has sponsored their jerseys. They have borrowed equipment from the Renegades and the Wembley football teams to be able to play. So I believe also that they are receiving free media coverage from the local newspaper, and I believe the radio station might be covering their games also.
Mr. Martinson.
When Christine was in to fill the application form out, she said that they had applied for grants for equipment through various grant funding through the rec department. I guess she asked them for help also, so they have been searching other sources for funding.
Do you know if they went to the county with the request?
She didn't indicate that.
And you don't know about any of the First Nations? No. Councillor Courtly.
We just issued, when I say we, I mean the Oilmen's Association. We just had an annual meeting. We gave them $1,000. That's all we had to give, because we haven't had our golf tournament yet, which is coming up next week, Friday. So we'll have more funds to give then. But in the meantime, we've given them $1,000. So.
And as far as we know, the team will own the equipment that's purchased. It's not going home with children. Because I know in other sports, like with hockey, the kids buy their hockey helmets. They use their own equipment, right?
Just to comment, most of that is for pads, and helmets. Yes, those can be used by different kids, but the pants and the girdles it'll depend on the size of the kids, will it not?
Councillor Courtly.
Yeah, no, it's all association-owned equipment, and as the kids grow, they're handed down and passed on. Like they're not issued a pair and then take them home and never see them again. They belong to the association, and they stay in the storage rooms and use them.
I wish actually that Councillor Gilroy was here to answer some of the questions regarding the equipment, because I would think that they would be using a portion of this funding for footballs and kicking tees. Apparently they have keep breaking their kicking tees, and they're looking for a better quality. Some of this equipment is a better quality. So I don't know, it's up to council if he wants, if you'd like.
He's declared a conflict.
Well, I would be asking him questions as to what is the support application, but
It looks like the biggest cost is the helmet out of that, which as long as that's sort of staying with the club, just supporting the ownership of personal equipment would be kind of difficult, and I think our taxpayers would struggle with the equipment not staying with the association. Councillor Courtly.
I also know, talking to some of the coaches, is that the owner of Revolution, Chev and now Ford, has brought a whole bunch of used equipment, some helmets and stuff, because he's involved in the, I think the Wembley team, if I'm not mistaken. And he's a big supporter of football in general, so he's brought some equipment, some used equipment and stuff for the teams here to use. So, which has been which has been awesome. So, and then the Renegades have given some of the smaller equipment to the Outlaws, like the two levels, right? So they're sharing equipment back and forth right now. So.
Councillor Danaka.
I'm not sure if somebody can answer this, but being that it's, like, this is done through the school, is that, or is this a separate, just a group of people wanting to do this? Okay.
Any other comments? Councillor Courtly.
Just to clarify that, I know they, it is an association because all the kids, they bring kids from the other schools. It's not just a separate school, it's all the schools in the community. Because I know there's kids from Jussard that are involved too, and other outlying schools, they're welcome to come in and join. So it's not just a school, it's a community team.
Hopefully they go to the county as well. Oh, they are. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments?
They haven't gone to the rec board. We're not giving them money twice, right? Like through the rec board and through us. Has that happened? No. No. Okay, just.
Yeah. I would prefer that we were ever in the future able to sort of deal with these requests via the rec board, because then it would be the county and the town jointly contributing to things like this. But Mayor Cox?
Recreation Board has nothing in the budget for donations. They won't even. And I would be surprised if either the county or the town would allow donations to be done by the Recreation Board, which is only 2 councillors that are sitting on there and approving donations.
Would just eliminate some of the double requests, and I've actually listened to organizations who have told us that, oh, we put in the same amount of money request to the town and to the county because we weren't sure who was going to give us the money, and we got it from both. So now we got more than we needed. So that happens as well. But anyway, anybody have any more to say on this topic? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Somebody can get Mr. Councillor Gilroy back. 5B1, angle parking on 49th. Page 27. Wonder where he went.
By the way, pardon? Yeah. There's a football game tomorrow night. Great entertainment. For the next little while.
Renegades are going tomorrow.
Yeah, Renegades are.
And next Monday.
And next Monday too? Who they play tomorrow?
St. Joe's, I believe.
St. Joe's.
All I know is that the games, Renegades play tomorrow here, and then we play Saturday here.
Well, the Outlaws play Saturday.
They're playing their 3rd game of the season here on Saturday, and the 24th are away. And they've got 2 more games after that.
Are you gonna do that, flip their burgers out of the airport?
Mayor Cox.
Move the council receive. The council received the request to change the parking on the west side of 49th Street between 52nd and 53rd Avenue from parallel to angle parking for information. Comments? Councillor Gilroy.
I was going to agree with the mayor on this only in the sense that the proposal information here talks about the parking from Attic Effects, Flowers and things, South Beach News. Some of those big pickup trucks make you almost go across the street to get by. And my concern would have been, even if it's only half, what about some of these vehicles? Is it really that safe for us? I know we heard we had a municipal parking lot, which I still haven't found, by the way. Could we revamp that instead and put like parking signs and say this is a parking lot that the town owns, and maybe give the extra parking that way?
Mayor Cox.
And that is exactly why I made that for information, because when people are at that four-way stop sign and they are heading south, when those big trucks come out, you back up traffic into, well, the people that are turning in that four-way wait for you to finally finish if you're sitting right outside the first two stalls. If you were to put angle parking where the highway is, you are potentially backing up traffic on the highway too, because they're not going to turn if those dualies and the one-ton trucks are backing up. So I think that's a safety issue. This is not going to be something that we should be encouraging.
Mr. Martinson, do you have any suggestions on this?
I went down and looked, and it's basically both streets are the same width. So if you, I know in driving from the four-way stop going south, you do have to pull out if people are parked in front of the dollar store or whatever the stores along there. So I guess a guy could change the pitch of the angle parking to make it so you're pulled off more, but that would be the only suggestion I would have.
Any other comments? Councillor Corley.
Well, does she really think there's a need for that? Like, obviously I read the letter, of course, but any given time, that part of that street on the west side, I mean, maybe during court it's a little bit busier, but I mean, usually there is parking spots along there. It's not very seldom full. Like, I know there's times during the month when it's licensing time and stuff, yeah, it does get congested on the east side, but usually on the west side there's usually a parking spot or two. But and I think if there's extra court, if there's parking, like Kitty Corner is still the arena parking lot, and a lot of parking, which is just a short walk. Like, I think people are forgetting the amount of area that is there available for public parking.
Mayor Cox.
As for parking lots, the Treasure Branch has their own parking lot for their clients. Pops, no, which one? Pop In? Pop In, when we did the development permit, we specifically made sure that they had parking to enough space for them. The courthouse has a parking lot within their, I think it's kind of behind. So even when there's court, there is space behind or between for the parking. So really, this would only be benefiting one business. This would only be benefiting one building, well, the Elks. But then the Elks, most of their meetings are held in the evening, and I do see a lot of parking in front of the TELUS building and across to Attic Effects, and then around the corner. So I guess I am concerned too, because when you move from the four-way stop sign, you're coming from a standstill, and you can visualize the whole layout of the traffic that you're turning into. Whether you're going to go north, whether you go south, whether you go across to the west, you can see the different vehicles that are moving. When you're coming off of Highway 2, you're turning onto that north-south street, and you're having to make decisions as to, there's oncoming traffic that I'm turning across the lane, and then I have this person that decides to back out. There's just a lot of things going on at the same time. So you're increasing your chances of having an accident there.
Councillor Panasic.
Yeah, I like the idea of, getting some more parking in that downtown core, and we have that old water treatment plant. Because I know there was a reason to hold on to it, to see when we got, we had to be reevaluated in our old one and stuff. Are we at the point where we might be able to do something with that lot and maybe make it into parking, or make it into something other than just a building sitting there doing nothing? Do you remember, Brian?
The lot to the east of that is actually for the courthouse parking. It's not for the water plant or whatever, because the water plant is on its own lot. So So.
No, that's why I was thinking having its own parking there for anybody in the town.
I think there's that lot, and there was a lot that the Fields store had dedicated downtown next to the old Dads and Lads store. It's all paved. That lot there was designated for extra parking also, so.
And then, there's also the theater right in there that, during movie times, that
They
gets.
utilize that lot too.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just wondering about the old water treatment plant, or do we still need that? There was a reason Vern said.
He was using it for like a reservoir or whatever.
Charge system.
Well,
Yeah.
No, it wasn't being active in any way, that it was only storage right now.
Yeah.
But there was a reason that they had to get approvals from environment for the water treatment plant existing. And once they got that, then this one really wasn't needed. But he didn't want to do anything until he got that
To decommission
approval.
it.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait on that one, but it's another spot we might be able to use. Is that
Councillor Gilroy.
Just a question to the Madam Mayor. You said there's parking for the court. Is that used strictly by the court employees, or is it an actual public parking as well? Because I don't remember seeing any signs that say public parking. I've just seen the court officers there.
I think there is parking for visitor parking. If you actually go into that lot, there's signage that says visitors.
Between Fields and the courthouse, a small strip for 40 days.
Hard to find.
But again,
I'm a signage guy, and
yeah, again, I would use the provincial parking lot, which really is pretty easy to act. It's always empty. It's available. It's used well by the theater, but during the day you see a few vehicles there, but not a lot. So
is there a sign that says it's parking?
I think
For
there is as you
out-of-town
drive in. It says that there's a P for parking, I think, but I'm not sure. You're right. There's no signage.
I'm just thinking for people out of town coming in.
Yeah, and we can look into that, but we're ready to vote on the motion. So all those in favor of receiving it for information? Carried. B52, page 29, budget. Mayor Cox.
Move that council request administration to send a letter to the Recreation Board, Library Board, and Museum Board requesting that they hold the line for the 2017 budget.
Mr. Martinson.
I had a meeting on, what day was that, Nancy, with the senior staff regarding the budget. Anyways, we had our first preliminary meeting, and basically I informed them then that this information was coming to council to hold the line. So I had also asked them in their budgets to, unless there was something that was over and above, and Ken had mentioned basically the new radio system that is going to be in place, and it affects both Alan's department and the fire department. So we're telling them to hold the line also in their budget. So that's why I decided to ask this question now before we get too far into the budget system. So
Any questions on this? All those in favor? Carried. Page 30, outstanding citizen nomination. Do I have a motion? Councillor Panasic.
I move that council approve the new outstanding citizen nomination policy number 5-2016.
Any comments? Councillor Gilroy.
I'm still wondering how you define high prairie and area resident in the policy statement. And under the eligibility, point 2, nominee must reside in the high prairie area. How do we define that?
Anybody wanna? Councillor Danaka.
I think that was sort of our way to make it open for somebody that lives in the town and or somebody who lives in the MD.
We had, so you're saying what are the borders?
Because, for example, an elder really is in High Prairie, but it could be considered High Prairie and area. Like, I just, can we have, is it roughly? Or is it just a, I can see where it's, sorry. I can see where it says they've contributed to the town, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. The investment is in this town, and yes, they can live outside, or they could have retired outside. But my point is there some sort of, is it going to be unofficial, how far away they can be that would be High Prairie area? Like, is Banana
Mr.
Belt part of
Martinson?
it? I think once council gets the applications, they'll have to go on the merit of the person who they're receiving the applications, or who's nominated. So if you're getting somebody nominated from Canuso or whatever that hasn't come to High Prairie, obviously you're not gonna waiver that or vote for that person over somebody from Enilda that has moved there and contributed to the town of High Prairie. So I think you'd have to weigh on the names of the people being nominated, so.
And I think it has less to do with where they live at the time of the nomination and more to do with what they did for the town and the area. Because you could have prominent citizens that contributed greatly to the area, to fundraisers for facilities or different buildings, and they could move away totally. They could live in Edmonton. Right now they could be in a nursing home in Edmonton. We could still want to honor them with a High Prairie citizen
But then that
award.
goes against eligibility.
So then they would know.
must reside in the High Prairie area, .4.
So, okay, well then that would be a struggle as well, but that can't happen, right?
Could it be Sunset Village? Sunset Village, is it? Sunset
Yeah.
House, Sunset House.
I'm guessing that we're figuring that they're probably going to live.
in town from Sunset House and from.
Yeah, and business owners that own a business in town, but they live out of in the county. So I think it's gonna have to be an application by application sort of process.
Right.
And this is gonna give us some parameters, at least. It's gonna give us some policy. My one concern is that I wanted this to come back because we sort of pushed it around for a couple of years, and there was only 1 year that we actually did vote on outstanding citizen nomination with this council, and then we realized there were no parameters and there was no guidelines. It was just whatever sort of the thought of the council of the day. But the date that we have on this is for March 31st, so we bypassed this year again if we didn't either consider changing the date now to something sooner or making a consideration for this 1 year to have an addendum or something. Mr. Martinson.
I put that in the discussion that if council desires to have an outstanding citizen nominated for 2016, council can direct administration to advertise for such. So if you so want to have it done right away, we can have another motion of council and we can advertise right away. And if you want to look at presenting something at the chamber gala or whatever, or at a future council meeting, then we can do that. So.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
Did council want to make another motion to have administration advertise for?
Yeah, I was wondering if we should discuss it, but I'm at our strategic planning, but I can make the motion now and we can see what people feel. that we make the motion to have administration advertise, and that we can choose a outstanding citizen for the 2016 year. And I guess later determine how that will be awarded. Sorry, but I mean where it would be presented, I guess.
And dedications and deadlines for voting.
Well, it would be this
That would be
council.
only for this year.
That's just for this one.
And then timing is pretty tight to give it a fair chance to everybody for this year. So that's my thing.
It was just in the interest of it being not choosing somebody for the last couple of years. And it has been topic in the newspaper. It's been, I mean, I think people in the community are wondering, and I think that they see the opportunity to nominate, that people will nominate, and we will get recipients, and then a decision can be made, right? And then we're on cue for next year. Councillor Panasic.
I know we've done some nominations before, like on this council. Why haven't we been getting more applications? Because we've had the policy to do it, but it wasn't very clear to us. But why did we get them for a while and now we're not getting them?
We stopped it when we had no policy.
But how did we stop it? What did we stop? What was there where we were
We'd
getting?
stopped-
Oh, we didn't
we didn't
advertise.
advertise for it.
Okay, that was the difference. We just
So all
didn't
we would do now is
advertise.
advertise for 2016, choose the recipient, and move forward for 2017, and then have a policy going forward.
Put it on the sign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, advertising doesn't take long.
Or read back the motion.
I need the rest from you.
Do we have anything written down here? Hang on a second. Make a motion to have administration advertise for a outstanding citizen nominations for 2016. I guess that's it, and then we'd have to figure out the dates and the deadlines as quickly as you guys can come up with that if council approves the. Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Land use bylaw amendment, page 36. Councillor Long.
That council gives second reading to bylaw 12/2016 to amend the land use bylaw 05215 this 13th day of September 2016. And that council give a third and final reading, but I don't need to do that yet.
Any comments? Councillor Gilroy.
I'm just wondering, since I was absent from the meeting where they actually discussed this at length, the August 9th meeting. I believe, don't think I'm allowed to vote on this because I wasn't part of the discussion. I believe there is something in the MGA that says if you're not part of the major discussion on it, then you shouldn't be able to vote on it until.
I think that's just in camera, you're not.
I thought it was for.
You have access to all the information.
You have access to all the information, so if you,
Okay.
even if you weren't part of the discussion.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear so that I'm not breaking any rules.
Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. And you have a second motion, Councillor Long.
And that council give third and final reading of bylaw 12/2016 to amend the land use bylaw 05/2015 this 13th day of September 2016.
Comments? All those in favor? Carried. Insurance for the tennis court.
That would be one I should require.
A conflict?
There's not really much of a conflict there. I'll step up.
Somebody would like to make a motion about the insurance on the tennis courts? I will make a motion then. That council approves the payment of $520 to Tennis Alberta for the membership insurance coverage on behalf of the High Prairie and District Tennis Club, and directs that expense to be charged to operating expense account 21177000000 grants, organizations, and individuals. Mayor Cox.
I received a listing of all the grants that have been already paid out, and I see that the tennis club has already received the $520. Is that true?
2016.
That was, I think you told me that was paid for 2050, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2015's got
Yeah.
one too.
2015's got one too.
Well, that was paid for 2014.
We're behind.
It was paid, I think. I think it was paid in July.
We can amend the motion to say as long as it hasn't already been paid. And then you guys can figure out whether 2015 or 2016 is paid.
For next year, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
For 2017.
This year for next year.
I believe so.
yeah.
I can put it in paper.
Last year's was paid in July.
So we
Last
haven't
payment.
paid for the request that they're asking,
Previous year.
For the previous
For
year.
the upcoming year.
because the intention is to pay what we haven't paid, not to pay it again. Councillor Gilroy?
I do have a problem with paying this, simply because of the situation of the land and the tennis court, which we can't say a lot on, but I think the people of High Prairie, the taxpayers are being penalized by being asked to pay this additional money. I don't see why. No offense. I mean, we know why we have to come up with it, because of the fact that it says right here, because of litigation. But why are we being penalized? Why are we and the town of High Prairie residents being penalized for the litigation? It's been on for, according to this, we've made 2 or 3 payments already. It's already cost the town $1,000. So why are we being penalized? And so that's why I will not support it, because I don't think they should be penalized. I think if anything, whoever the current landowner is, they should have to pay it if they're gonna keep it in litigation.
Councillor Long?
The dispute is to whether who owns the property, and in order to protect his liability, he's made them get insurance so that he's not liable if they get injured on his tennis court, our water, if you're looking. And so the owner of the land should get a big thumbs down for making them do this in the newspaper, but by the same token, we're doing them a favor. And when you drive by there in the evening and see the dozens of kids and adults and seniors out there playing tennis and waiting their turn, they're town people and they deserve as much $520 as football does $3 grand. It's an active sport and it's a pretty good community, but they're stuck in the middle.
And it's not the tennis club's fault or responsibility. It was an agreement between the town of High Prairie and the landowner that they're in litigation with. And until a resolve is settled, somebody has to step up and cover some of those costs for all those people that are using the tennis courts. Mr. Martinson?
Once when the land issue is settled and hopefully it's back in the town's name, then the tennis club informed me that they will not be required to
They won't need the
ask for
insurance.
any additional liability insurance. So.
Any other comments? Councillor Gilroy?
Is there any way that we're gonna be able, I know it sounds terrible, is there any way we're gonna be able to recover any of this money? No, it's just basically, until the thing's settled, we're gonna be paying $520 a year of taxpayers' money.
I kind of agree with Councillor Gilroy on this. However, I also look at the fact that the tennis club does not ask the town for a dime at all. They look after the courts, they resurface fundraise for resurfacing it, they get grants, they conduct tennis clinics, they run the facility as if they owned it, which although we own it, it has not, it has never cost us anything. So for $520, I think it's well worth to give them the support, and actually put some more pressure on the lawyers to settle, or to bring this forward, not to settle, but to bring it forward. So that's my thoughts on it. That's why I
did
would.
not know about all the things that the tennis group does. It saves us money.
It saves us a lot of money. We don't
change
pay
on
a
that.
cent for that
No,
facility.
change on that.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Carried. Workplace Wellness Month. Oh, sorry. What about Councillor Panasic? Workplace Wellness Month. Anybody want to make a motion on this? Councillor Danaka?
I make a motion that the town of High Prairie declare the month of October Workplace Wellness Month, and that council approve the attendance of any councillor who is available to attend the launch of the October Workplace Wellness Month program on October 4th, 2016 at the Performing Arts Auditorium located at the Gordon Buchanan Center.
Comments? All those in favor? Carried. First annual Halloween decorating contest. We have a motion. Who did that? Councillor Danaka.
Since this is my motion, after my outburst at the last council meeting on my soapbox about not doing anything in the town, I thought, what a great idea to possibly have the first annual Halloween decorating contest. So my motion is that council support the first annual Halloween decorating contest and direct administration to advertise in the South Beach News and on social media.
I think it's a very good idea.
Pardon me?
I think it's a very good idea.
I just think that we need to define how we're doing this, though. Council will need to choose whether there'll be select committee who will drive around or contest will be sent. The poster says email photos to reception with your name, address, and they will be posted online to be voted on. So I'm assuming that's the suggested way to go. Is that why it's in the poster like that?
I didn't know which way you wanted to go. I thought the photos would be easier unless somebody wants to go drive around. It was just two options that I put in there.
Councillor Gilroy.
Being here for a couple of years, I've noticed that people take great pride in doing it, so it is a good idea for some. I'm going to be voting on behalf of those who I've talked to who see the religious significance of Halloween and the origins of it. They're not necessarily Christian groups. They are, but I have talked to a number of people in town who say that the town will probably go through with it, but they wanted to have their voice said. And so I'm probably not going to vote for it on the purpose of the origin of the thing. Mind you, the people I've talked to will be supporting the local stores and buying the candy for their kids so the kids are not ostracized, but the theme itself, they'll leave for the majority of the community.
They can decorate for fall.
They'll decorate for Christmas.
My one concern, Donna, with this is the date. that the actual award is given out on the 31st? Because a lot of people that decorate for Halloween decorate a couple days before or even that day of, because they don't always, it's not an ongoing, maybe it's not like Christmas where it's up quite as long. I know in our particular neighborhood, sometimes you just come home on Halloween and everybody's decorated and they weren't even in the morning. So I don't know if you wanted to have the date considered.
I guess with looking at having it, of course, on the actual day of Halloween, I'm not sure if having it beforehand would work, in the sense that you could
encourage them to do it earlier.
You could, like, it might get people to that house because they were the number 1, 2, or 3 winner kind of thing, so people would know on Halloween which house and or business or whatever, sort of won the contest.
Councillor Courtly.
Well, you have right here, it says deadline for submissions is October 28th.
Which is the Friday though.
So,
They lose the whole weekend.
but I mean,
it's fine.
If this is passed, see how that goes, and always make changes if you have lots of them decorated
just-
afterwards.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I
Councillor
just
Denial.
have, when I was talking to CAO Martinson when we were working on this with the start, he has $150 approximately advertised. Now, is that including the certificate that we had discussed? Like they would get like a small certificate that said, no?
That's for free.
Just like to give them something that says, congratulations, you are the first prize winner. Like it doesn't have to be anything fantastic. Can you print those off on?
She's handy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, are we
Yeah,
good?
okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Page 51, call the question. Councillor Panasic.
Well, again, I'd like to, Donna's saying, she went on her rant, I mentioned my call to question, I figured I should bring this up, that council direct administration to amend the call to question section in procedure bylaw 02-2014. And I'll, if I can, just to say why I think we should be doing that is there's, times if we're calling the question could be done as soon as I could call the question now and nobody would have a chance to speak. And I think we need to have it in there in such a way that everybody, would agree there has had a chance to speak and this has gone on too long. Like I understand the purpose of this, but it could get misused the way it's worded. And I know that Brian had found something or, in some other wording on how it's supposed to be worded, coming out of Robert's Rules of Order, and that would be really good if we included that in there, but the way it reads right now, this could be abused, so I'd like to see it amended.
Actually, I think that it is quite clear in the procedure bylaw, and if it was, if the procedure bylaw was followed with what it said, I don't know how you would get it abused. If you were to call the question immediately, it is supposed to go to a vote on call the question. And if the majority of the councillors say, no, I haven't finished talking yet, that vote would be defeated and the discussion would again continue. So there's no way that you're going to abuse it. If the majority of councillors feel we've had enough discussion, and someone says call the question, then it goes to a vote on calling the question, then it goes to a vote immediately on the matter that's under discussion. The fact is that part of our problem is that the chair is not enforcing section 24.1, which basically says that councillors shall not speak more than once until every member of the council has the opportunity to speak. And that, of course, would include the chair only speaking the once. until every counselor has the opportunity to speak. And I think instead of saying, well, does anybody have anything to say, the chair should know who has not spoken and specifically ask them, are you speaking on this? And they can then say, I pass, or no, I will not be speaking. But it's too hopscotch as to whether or not you're speaking or whether you're not speaking, and then someone else says, well, I'll speak because nobody else is speaking. Until that round has gone around, nobody should be, again, speaking again. It's quite clear in our procedure bylaw how discussions are being handled.
Mr. Martinson.
I did phone Municipal Affairs on our procedure bylaw, and they said basically it's in the interpretation of when the vote on the call, when you call the question. And that's what I don't believe that council have seen as to what the call the question is. When you call the question, it's like Mayor Cox said, you vote on whether you should cease discussion on it.
And we haven't been doing
And we haven't, and council hasn't been doing that. So I think if the question is called again, I don't believe we need to, as Mayor Cox said, redo the procedural bylaw. I just think that whoever is chairing has to make sure that council, all the council is familiar with what call the question is, and that's only to vote on calling of the question first. And then if the majority votes, then you vote on the question, the motion. So,
Councillor Long.
And I'm digging deep here, but I believe that the Roberts rules also states that if you're going to call the question, you have to be acknowledged by the chair. You raise your hand just like anybody else, and then when it's your turn to talk, then you call the question. That Roberts rules discourages someone just going and call the question without being addressed by the chair. And that's something that they recommend you don't do. They recommend that you don't just say, call a question. They recommend that you put your hand up, be addressed by the chair, and then say, call the question. But that's not a hard and fast rule. That's just, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's how it's interpreted. So, so I think we have a good bylaw. The procedural bylaw is fine. It needs to be implemented properly, and that's all. It's just a learning curve. It's really no fault of anyone's. It's just one of those things that you have to learn how to do. And one thing that I did as chair is I'll put an M for Martinson and D for Danaka as they've spoken on each topic, and I just put it down and then check mark it off, and then as it goes through, then it doubles up, and then I know that, okay, now the mayor's talked twice and Donna's talked twice, and we've gone the whole gambit. And I imagine you've seen me doing all and checking it off, and that way I know who spoke around the table twice. And then you let it go further if you want, but that opens the door to long meetings.
Councillor Danaka.
I think the procedural bylaw is quite clear. I think our downfall is that we probably haven't followed it as it's explained. I think when the question was called, we voted on the motion that was on the floor as opposed to voting on the actual call the question. So I don't think we need to change anything. We just have to follow as it's outlined in the procedural bylaw.
I think that for the full 3 years, this has been an ongoing thing no matter who's been sitting in the chair position, because it's often been who's ever called the question, it's been brought to our attention that it's an immediate vote, and we have voted, you're right, on the motion. And even the last meeting where a question was called, and I said, well, I did call Municipal Affairs, and that's just to call the question to see whether or not we would like to, we have a majority that feel that the question should be called before we decide to continue talking about that motion or vote on that motion. And it was discussion here of this council that that wasn't the interpretation of our bylaw, because we did try to, and this is probably why Councillor Panasic has brought it up, because it is in that frustration. And I did read our bylaw to Angela at Municipal Affairs, the Municipal Advisor, and she says it's not clear. She says you're going to probably struggle with this with future councils as well. She says if you guys are 3 years in and you're still discussing what call to question is, obviously you guys don't have a very good understanding of the bylaw the way it is, and that better clarity for this one. And she said we reviewed a few other ones that maybe that if you guys have a bylaw and review committee, that you guys should be looking at a few changes that just clarify, add a better description as Robert's rules, because we do have that one that Councillor Panasic sent around, and that actually explains a little more clearly what call to question actually means. Councillor Panasic?
I agree with what you are saying there, and I think that's why I think it's good that we've discussed this, and I totally agree with the fact that you should have a vote on whether to call the question. Because then it's not just one person's interpretation. You have a quick vote. If everybody agrees that that's enough, you vote on it and away you go, or at least the majority agree. I totally agree with that. But I also agree that we've interpreted this wrong for 3 years. The next council is going to do this for 3 years also. We need to clarify this. We're probably going to be all right now that we've had this discussion, but to help the future councils, if we can clarify the procedure now, it is just going to make it that much easier into the future. We're all understanding this better, but we all misunderstood how we read this for the last 3 years and interpreted it a different way. So I think it needs to be clarified.
Councillor Dinaka?
Again, I don't think we need to change the procedural bylaw. The unfortunate thing, when we started, we were all new, with the exception, of course, of Mayor Cox. She had 6 or 8 months under her belt by that time. And it was basically poorly explained to us, or never really explained to us. And so it's a fall down on our previous administration for not giving us the accurate and apparent training that we needed regarding this, but I really see no need to change the bylaw.
Councillor Panasic?
Well, I think you're right, Don, as it wasn't explained to us very well, and that's because it wasn't clear in our bylaw. It shouldn't have to be explained verbally. If it's explained clearly in our bylaws, which we went to on a couple of occasions, then there's no issues with it. It's just clear and understood on how it should be done. People don't have to ask for somebody's interpretation.
Mayor Cox?
Well, I have 2 things to say. Number one, this is the second time around that I'm speaking. And I already have 2 councillors over there that have never spoken once. So I hesitated to speak the second time, but I'm wondering, where is this business about making sure that everybody gets a chance to speak? And the second one is, I don't know how much clearer it could be that you're going to call the question and you're voting on call the question. We really haven't had a lot of call the questions. I believe Councillor Carrier asked for it a couple times. Yeah. But it did not come up, and even when it did come up pretty well, there was no big outrage. There was no one that said, gee, I didn't get a chance to talk. It was usually the fact that we were finished. We had just been discussing, and it was trying to change people's minds when they're not going to change their mind. They are ready to vote. That's basically where we were at when someone finally said, call the question. Because we could have debated it forever, and it isn't moving.
Again, the comment about the counselors not being able or having the opportunity to talk, that's another bylaw that you interpret one way and I interpret another. I actually resented when you chaired and you forced people to talk, whether they wanted to or not. I think that at this point, this is a very intelligent council. They raise their hand and we will ask each one and give them an opportunity to speak first before we let somebody else speak again. But if they don't raise their hand, if they have nothing to say, they have nothing to say. I'm not going to ask Councillor Courtley for his opinion when he doesn't raise his hand and indicate that he wants to speak. If he wants to speak, he can do that. I'm not going to force him to do that. And like I said, I didn't like that I felt like I was forced sometimes to comment. And the other thing that I found about that is we wasted an awful lot of time, because these meetings take a long enough time, listening to everybody have something to say about some topics that they really didn't. Their comments were exactly the same as other comments, but we felt that we had to say something, so we would repeat the exact same thing that was just said. So that was your interpretation, and I never criticized how you ran the meeting, and I don't appreciate you over and over again criticizing how I run the meeting. Any other comments? Mayor Fox?
It's the chair's prerogative how she runs the meeting.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just reading what it says here, I do agree with the idea that each person should be speaking, and whether or not they say no comment, they owe it to the people who elected them to be involved in this. And it's no offense to any chair, okay? It's the idea that I'm getting, since I've been on here, I've seen again and again, somehow we're forgetting that we owe this position to the people of the town of High Prairie. We are responsible to act as adults here, and we are responsible to do what's in the best interest of the people of High Prairie. And sometimes long meetings come because we can't agree, or we go on and on with things. In this case, I'm not going to call it to a vote, but I've said my piece, and I'm ready to vote whenever you're ready to go.
Any other comments? The question is at hand is about call to question. Are we ready to vote on the motion?
Please read it back.
That council direct administration to amend the call to question section in the procedural bylaw 02/2014.
All those in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Do we have an 5E, page 52, CAO's report.
I make the motion that we receive Brian Martin's written report and action list for information.
Any questions on Brian's report? Brian, did you want to speak on your report first? Okay.
This to let council know I have some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is the paving and the curb sidewalk repairs on 47th Street and the one-way on the west side of St. Andrew's School was completed yesterday, except for some landscaping behind the curb that they have to go back in and put some topsoil and seed. Looks very good, like it's a great improvement over there. The bad news is we have late this afternoon, Mike Denty come in and seen me, and we have a water line break on the corner of 47th Street and 52nd Avenue underneath the new asphalt. So tomorrow morning, the guys are gonna come in at 7 o'clock and dig it up. What they think it is in talking with Vern and Mike, they think that the roller that they got has a vibrator on it, and it vibrates so bad because Corey Cropley lives right on the house, right outside where the break is, and she said literally her house was shaking bad. So we had problems on that corner a couple, 3 years ago. So, but we're gonna get it repaired and then they'll come back in and repatch it before they leave town. They still have 50th Street to do, so. It's something, the timing, it wasn't great, but it's happened now and we gotta repair it, so we'll fix it before they get out of town, so. Anyways, I give you like 5 bullets there of what I've been doing over the last little bit here, and if anybody has any questions or whatever on my report.
Councillor Danaka?
Just a couple questions on your action list. I suppose I should have maybe asked Chief Melnick, but are we any closer to getting that Northwest Alberta Regional Sharing Agreement signed that we agreed to?
What that is I understand now from talking with him that I have to write a letter to the fire chief in high level. It's not actually an agreement, it's a letter committing us to say that.
Okay.
And I will do the motion that council has as part of the letter. And forward that to him.
All right.
And I'll do that and it won't be on, it'll be done, completed by the next action list.
All right. And my second question, but I think that was kind of answered in an off discussion. At the Peavine Suites, when we're doing the strategic plan, they have no food service, or so what are we doing?
I will get a hold of Eva's. I will have coffee and water and muffins, I think, in the morning. And then I'll order Eva's or something, and they said we can cater from anywhere.
Is it too late to find a different venue?
It's fine.
It's fine?
They had no
All right.
problem. Nancy went down and actually seen them, and
Hopefully they fix the air conditioning too, because it's very, very cold.
Oh no. I don't know. Then I'll find somewhere else.
They're not open Saturday.
Okay.
Just so you know.
No. You did, but I didn't open it and I forgot. I'll go look later.
First of all, I want to commend our CAO on a really good job, him and his staff. I really appreciate all the hard work they're doing, all the paper flow, and just the way they're trying to do the best for this town. So I know he doesn't hear a lot, and I want people out there to hear it as well. And especially when I saw Peavine this week and saw them unloading pallets for PV Mart. Lots of pallets for PV Mart. Wanted to appreciate that. The one thing I would like, I have to admit, I missed the unveiling of the Gordon Buchanan wall. I don't know how much actual notice we had. The one day I did not check my emails was the day that you had forwarded to me. So I apologize for not having been there. Something like this, if we have a little more notice, it would be good. And if it's short notice, yeah. So.
Any other comments on Mr. Martinson's report? Questions? Okay, all those in favor of accepting his report? Carried. Page 58, checklisting. Councillor Long.
That council received the checklisting for council for August 10th to the 23rd, 2016 for information.
Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Page 62, Stars Open House. Have a motion? Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion that council approve the attendance of 2 councillors to attend the Stars Open House in Grand Prairie on September 26, 2016. If there's more than 2, then you guys will have to figure out who's going to go.
Discussion? Councillor Panasic.
I'm just curious, what's the benefit to the town in attending this from a town player's perspective and stuff on that? That would be my question.
I just think because we do support them and they do come into this area, that it's a good opportunity for people to actually, like the counselors can bring back and exactly tell us, you know, it's quite the operation. Personally, I've never been to their STARS Center. I have no idea what's all there, but I mean, if we send 2, that's, I think, is sufficient to offer our support. And
Councillor Courtly.
I know an invitation has been sent to them for our airport open house on Saturday morning, brunch, fly-in brunch. We've asked for them to, if they're not working, if they could fly in and take part. So hopefully they can come, and then we can meet some pilots and shake their hands. So just so you know, if they are invited to come. So.
Councillor Long.
I attend the galas fairly regularly, and they go through this whole process, and they show you how the operation works, and they show you the ambulances and the life-size simulators, and it's an amazing operation, and I would encourage anyone to go see it. It's pretty impressive to see the amount of work that they do, all on the dollars that they get from us as Albertans is amazing. And the area that they cover is huge. So the challenges that they face, it's really impressive. I would encourage anybody who's interested, they should take a look at it. That's just me.
To take a page out of Councillor Rose's book, networking is very important, and we have a new hospital and hopefully a helipad. And I think with the amount of money that's been raised for STARS over the last couple of years, the golf tournament raised a lot of money and big commitment. I think, I don't want to say we want to stay on the good side, but you know, if we do show some support here, it just may be the difference in a life or two. And I think it's very important, as you said, as Councillor Rose has said often, this is a networking opportunity. And we can also come back and tell the community exactly where the money's going.
Any other comments, or is there councillors that are available? Councillor Danaka's motion asks for 2 councillors.
I won't be able to go.
Yeah, Councillor Courtly, you can go.
I probably could get away. You know the boss? I know a couple of them.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It's probably not a bad idea. I mean, I don't know how much value per se, like Councillor Panasic is stating, are we going to be able to bring back? But I do know Glenda comes here every year and pitches to us and tells us what she's doing and all the improvements and the upgrades. And a lot of times we're looking at her baffled because we don't really know what she's actually talking about. So it does give us that opportunity to hands-on see, be able to support the operation and, you know, build those relationships that could help us in the future as well. If there's nobody else, I'm available to go, but if there's somebody who would like to put their name forward, then that's fine, I'm good not to. But, and then I could go with you if you wanted to save on
I'm just
driving.
saying that because nobody else is standing up to go, but I can get away to go.
Yeah.
But if somebody's hard to content on going, I'm more than you guys can go, but I can get away and go.
Well, if
And
council
I got
approves.
I got other reasons to be in Grand Prairie.
Yeah. Well, if council approves that too, then we can decide, I guess, from there. Okay, any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Emergency preparedness, or personal emergency preparedness, page 65. Would somebody like to make a motion? Councillor Danaka.
motion that council receive the invitation for Any counselors or employee wishing to attend the personal emergency preparedness the first 72 hours on September 22nd, 2016 in Grand Prairie for information.
Too bad it all wasn't the same day.
Is that the same day?
No, I said too bad it wasn't. Could have all just gone
What's
in.
that?
Could have all just gone in with Ken. Isn't he driving?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Councillor Gilroy.
Just let council know that, I'm scared to say this one, but I have talked to Ken, and I will probably be going with him, since it's only gonna cost me $20 for a meal. And he said I could hitch a ride with him, so I don't want an honorarium for it, but I think it's a very important thing to bring back to our community.
Councillor Danaka.
The reason that I made the motion was for information. As Chief Melnick had said, it's train the trainer. And I think that this is something that the fire department should be doing for the town. He can have a session and stuff for us to be part of that. We can attend his training session here as opposed to going to Grand Prairie and getting the same stuff.
I was gonna make the same motion as you. I was just gonna go on my own.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Carried. Page 67, Community Foundation of Northern Alberta. Councillor Long.
The council received the invitation to attend the Community Foundation of Northern Alberta's Nourish the North Wine and Auction event in Grand Prairie on September 29th, 2016 for information.
Any comments? All those in favor? Reports. Oh, sponsor. Golf tournament. So excited. Do I have a motion? Anybody want to make a motion? Mayor Cox.
The council received the invitation from the High Prairie District Golf Club for 2 representatives to attend the Sponsor Appreciation Day being held on September 25th, 2016 for information.
So isn't the letter just inviting us to have 2 complimentary rounds of golf for a representative from a sponsor? So we're, like, the request for a member, an honorarium is, like, they want a representation from all of their sponsors, and this is an appreciation event for sponsors, right? So they're offering us tickets to an event, right? So do we want to send representation, right? Is that, okay, Councillor Long?
I don't mind sending somebody there. I got a problem paying $100 for them to go play around a golf.
So maybe we should have had another option on that.
I'll be there anyway. I'll go.
Yeah, like we should just send somebody, and they're offering us the tickets. Okay, yeah, that's, yeah. So I think we should,
I'm the beer cart sponsor.
so we've got 2, there, well, there we go, we got 2 golfers, unless anybody's opposed to that idea.
Let's clarify.
You're not a golfer?
Yeah. Good idea.
So we have a motion for information. Do we want to, what do we want to do with that? Rescind that motion, or vote on that and make a new motion? And then just hand, you good? Okay. Okay, let's vote on the motion. That's good, because we're not giving one.
I really, wow.
Well, you have to use your membership. You don't get anything besides, you just get to wear that lovely T-shirt.
I'll wear this one, I'll wash it.
You haven't watched it yet?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving it for information? Okay. Now, reports. Mayor Cox.
This is my written report, and if you have no questions, I move to receive for information.
Any questions for Mayor Cox? All those in favor? Carried. Counselor Danaka.
I have my report in front of you. Anybody has any questions? I'm trying to find.
Anybody have any questions for Counselor Danaka? You have something you'd like to share with us?
My report for information now.
All those in favor? Counselor Gilroy.
Mine was a very quiet time, and so I had apologize for not putting what in writing. The mayor touched on the fact that I was with her for the Daylon Yong road trip, where we welcomed them to our community, and we tried to make people aware of the black market harvesting of organs for people who were not in agreement with their government in China. And so I was there with that. And the only other major one I was at was I represented our town at the board of, it's the governing board of the Mackenzie Municipal Planning Commission out in Fairview. Pretty much all day one with all the traveling. A couple of interesting things came out of it. And one is that because we were part of it and a number of groups there, there is a possibility, I believe we have a 2-year commitment to them. We have a 2-year commitment to them of a certain amount of money, and we pay year by year, is what I've heard. Because we're part of that group and there's a certain number of people there, we might actually be getting a rebate or a discount when we pay next year's. They're working on cost of living and stuff like that, but I should be able to find that out at the next meeting, December 2nd, that they'll be able to tell us whether we will, but they hinted that we could actually be paying less than that second full year, because of the way that things are working out. I'm hesitant to say we had a really great presentation from the Mighty Peace Watershed Project. Got a bag for that, but I didn't bring it tonight. It was really good. Really good presentation. They also we're talking about all the different things. They are really, and you heard me talk to Haven about it. They're really going through a lot of the Municipal Government Act and all the changes in it, and they promised to keep us up to date on all that. I'm not going to go on and say all whatever groups are doing, but if you want copies to look at of the minutes, I can provide you with those copies so you can see what the other municipalities are doing that are part of this. And I did see a number of projects. We will not be allowed to host them until the other areas have already hosted. And we lost it because 2 ago it was Falher. Falher is our region. So probably wouldn't be for a long, long time because they only meet 4 times a year. But one of the big things that came up for everybody was the conservation, how you cut the land off to make sure that there is, you are doing the best environmental work for the policies that the government wants to put in there. Most of that land they were talking about will probably be along waterways and have a certain amount of coverage. So some of our newer developments, if they're around the waterways, they will not be allowed to go as close and different things, but they're still working on that. So I will give you updates when they give me updates on those things. But other than that, there was they were doing very well, and they're keeping their costs under control so that they don't have to pay as much.
Any questions for Councillor Gilroy?
Then I move the adoption of my report.
All those in favor? Councillor Panasic.
There was 2 meetings attended since the last council meeting. One was the airport meeting, and not much there other than we've got that fly-in promotion going on Saturday, and we got some hooks and some brochures from the town to give away at the event, and we've got the barbecue going on. They're also looking at getting a cannon from Fish and Wildlife so they can scare the birds away from the,
Airport.
from the runway, because they've had a few people that had to abort because all of the birds are landing on the water storage area. They're landing there and flying off, so they're.
That's the county's problem.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
They're still having issues with the AWAS system. It's accessible by phone, but not on the website, and then they've had it changed, and then it goes the opposite way, so they're still struggling.
I'm hungry, apparently. That was the AWA system.
Well, and the other cop is they've got to do some work to the septic tanks there, because the collars on the septic tanks have rotted right off. They were metal, and they've rotted right off, so they've got issues with that. So that's the big things at the airport. The other meeting was Heart River Housing. They have
A new website. That's sort of new. They're working on getting the sprinklers installed that the government is funding, but there's some issues with that because all their funding is the bare minimum to run pipes down the hallway with the water in them, and the pipes, they won't pay to get them enclosed so it looks decent. So it's just this ugly looking pipe, and they've done it in one, and they took pictures, and it looks horrible because it's just this pipe attached to the roof running along, and they want to put a bulkhead around it so it doesn't look so bad, and that looks like it's going to be charged, but to Heart River Housing to build that on top of it and do that work on theirs. But there is a big change, and this might have something to do with what we have with discussions when we go with the AUMA, is because the CMHC agreements where the federal government's had the houses has now all been turned over to the province. And what are the implications of that? We don't really know yet because this was just announced, but now the province has full control. So they may be way more willing to sell off those units to do other changes to them, because they've got, over in all of Alberta's like 25,000 houses came to the province, and now they own them and not the federal government. We still have large waiting lists for family housing, like 93. Senior self-contained is about 15, and the lodge wait list is about 10. So, been fairly consistent there with our wait lists. Unless there's any questions, I move my report. Oh.
Actually, it's just a question. We're going to the fly-in breakfast at 10. Do you want councillors to? He was joking about me flipping burgers, but
I wasn't joking.
Well, no. See, and that's what I want to know. Is it something that you would like anybody in the council to help out with? To
Absolutely.
Support you?
It is the councillors that are both from the town and the MD that can flip burgers, but there will be people there already. So like the.
I'll flip burgers if the fire training is it.
Yeah. So yes, if you can make it and flip burgers, that'd be great. Or pancakes, if you're there early. I move my report for information.
All those in favor? My apologies. Councillor Long?
Nothing to report this time.
Oh, he jumped them.
Watershed.
Watershed, I was in the hospital.
So we have two alternates. Did nobody go to the meeting?
I never received a phone call saying that I was asked to go. And I'm not gonna, if I'm third, I'm not gonna go unless the other two can't go.
Yeah.
Who's the second?
I am, but Michael didn't contact me, so I didn't think to contact him and say, are you going? So.
If you want us to split the stuff up so that we don't miss another one, that's fine. I'm willing to do that.
Or I wonder if you guys just at least know when the meetings are.
Well, she wrote an email with
got emails.
I mean, if no one else can make it, talk about it now so I can put it in my day timer and we'll go.
I was committed to go, but then I was ended up in the hospital.
So are you able to make the last ones? The next, okay.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4.
Okay.
Providing you don't end up in the hospital.
Providing you don't end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, that's something you can't.
Or don't let them put you in the hospital for going to those meetings.
So I guess that's not really a report, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My report is attached. The only thing I'll draw your attention.
You missed one again.
Oh, did I? Oh, goodness.
Q before R.
I'm having a hard time with alphabetical order today, apparently. Councillor Courtly.
All right.
So yeah, I just want to touch on the airport again. So on the fly-in brunch, it's a brunch, starts at 10 o'clock. So we're going to try to be there for about 9 o'clock, help set up. We don't know how many people are coming, how many planes, helicopters. We don't know. We hope there's a great turnout. We've forwarded the information to every pilot in the area, all the other airports in the local area and the extended areas. So we hope we get a great turnout. Who was just saying before that Camrose, they did this and they got 1,400 people. I don't know if we're gonna get that many, but I'm just,
What did they get at Westlawn?
I'm not sure what they got in Westlawn. Well, and that's the thing, right? They're looking for events to fly into, and because of our all the improvements we've done and the fuel system and stuff, the Garlock, it's a lot of people are excited to come apparently. So, but so there is the barbecue, of course, from the fire hall, and a couple of the firemen are coming too. Plus, there is somebody, Ann Stewart has her food handlers course, so that the legalities is looked after. So she's spearheading that. So even just to come and visit and hang out, if you can spend some time to come out, that'd be great. If you can't, well, there's other obligations all the time, right? So, but it basically starts at 10 to about 2, I think it is. So it incorporates a breakfast, and then we'll change it to a lunch after that point in time. So it's not really an open house to the public. It's just a straight fly-in for the pilots and the people that use it. Later on, we'll do a big grand opening when all the rest is done for the public. So that's that part which I want to touch on. And then secondly, the arena upgrades. We're supposed to have a rec board meeting, which we had to cancel due to Lori's personal matter, but we will reschedule that here as soon as we can, and we'll have a meeting for that. But the arena itself, the washrooms are coming along. They weren't done for the opening yesterday because this is the second day of ice time. The ice is in and kids are using it. They are, well, I was in there at noon and they weren't quite done, but they're really close. Like, I think within the day or two, they'll be done. Like, they're just finishing up the dividers and then hanging the paper dispensers and stuff. But it looks really good. When it's all said and done, it'll be nice. They've done a great job. I think hats off to everybody, all the contractors that come in and helped out. It looks really, really good.
What's the scoop on the new Zamboni? Is it here yet, or when's it coming?
You know, that's information we were going to hope to get out of the meeting because it should be close. It should be close within, I think, the month. Within the month and a half. I think it was supposed to be here for like November. End of October, November. Like, it's right close, right? It's really, really close. I think Dawn's still dealing on promoting or selling the old one. But for now, of course, we're using it until the other one comes in. So that'll be dealt with as it comes. But it should be here like within the month and a half, I think, the new Zamboni. Any other questions? Yeah.
It's not on your report, but when is the AEA, the rec thing, the conference?
That is after the AUMA.
Oh, it's after the AUMA? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was coming up in September. Okay.
No, it's in October.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the 20th area, isn't it?
Okay.
I think.
No, I just thought it was coming up in September.
I think it's in, no, it's in closer, I think it's the second week in October, 20th, 21st, if I can remember.
Any other questions for Councillor Courtney?
October 22nd.
There you go.
There you go, pretty close.
I better put that in my phone. All right, I move my report for information.
All those in favor? And my report's attached. And the only thing that I'll draw your attention to, unless somebody has questions, is I put the the Hyperion Area Chamber of Commerce business nomination forms attached. One, so they're on the internet, so other people can maybe see them that go to our agendas, and for councillors to feel free to nominate some of our worthy businesses and citizens in the area that should be recognized. And if nobody has any questions, Councillor Gilroy.
I was just going to say thank you for that last page for the Lesser Slave Lake Constituency Office hours.
That was at our chamber meeting as well. So
That's a very good idea to actually have the hours. Can we actually get that? Is that going to be posted on the door anywhere else? Because it's probably important for our citizens to know when they can come in and see.
They have an article in the paper this week on
Do
the
they?
office. I believe it's
on
this
the
week's
door.
paper.
I think it's on her
Okay,
door
great.
too. Yeah. So slowly people are knowing, and she's encouraging anybody that's that wants to meet with Danielle to get a hold of her. She'll try her best to schedule meetings, as well as even as for council, she let us know that Fridays are the best days to try to schedule with Danielle if we can. So she's trying to come in once every 2 weeks into High Prairie area. So if we know ahead of time that we want to meet with her. And if there's no further questions, I move my report for information. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.